What nerve has China's military cooperation with Egypt touched in the United States? When three Chinese Air Force, CAF, Y-20 strategic transport planes quietly landed at the Wadi Abrish airbase in western Cairo, Egypt on May 21, 2025. This seemingly routine military operation was like a boulder thrown into the surface of a political lake in the Middle East, provoking a strong reaction from the international community, especially the United States. This operation was only 30 days after the end of the Sino-Egyptian, Eagle of Civilization 2025, joint air exercise, and the reappearance of the Y-20 is not only regarded as another demonstration of China's long-range strategic delivery capability, but also triggered widespread speculation about the depth of Sino-Egyptian military cooperation and its geopolitical impact. Is the Y-20 a regular supply of equipment for the modernization of the Egyptian Air Force? Or is it a key step for China to break through the traditional pattern of power in the Middle East? From a technical point of view, the special nature of the Y-20's mission cannot be ignored. As a large strategic transport aircraft developed by China, Y-20 has a maximum load capacity of 60 tons and a range of more than 7,800 kilometers, and this time the three formations have the ability to deliver 180 tons of materials at once. Combined with the Egyptian military's high degree of secrecy on the unloading process, all containers are unmarked, and the operation area is closely guarded. The outside world widely speculated that the transport content, far beyond the ordinary training materials. It is worth noting that as early as February 2025, Egypt has received the first batch of J-10C fighters through Operation Lightning. The model is equipped with PL-15E long-range air-to-air missiles with a range of up to 300 kilometers and advanced active phased array radar, and its comprehensive combat performance against the US F-16 Block 70, and even in some parameters to form a generational advantage. The comprehensive combat performance is comparable to the US F-16 Block 70, and even in some parameters to form a generation difference advantage. If the transport is indeed a subsequent batch of fighters, delivered in advance or supporting the Red Flag 9B air defense system, Egypt's air defense system will realize from the universal brand assembled to Chinese systematic combat leapfrog upgrade. This deepening of military cooperation is rooted in Egypt's strategic anxiety in recent years. As a traditional ally of the United States in the Middle East, Egypt has long been subject to the political strings attached to Western arms exports. The US-made F-16 fleet cannot be equipped with advanced medium-range missiles due to the technical blockade, the French Rafale fighters to use the Meteor missile restrictions, Meteor missiles for French Rafale fighters, and the purchase of the Russian Su-35 was aborted due to the threat of US sanctions. In contrast, the delivery without political conditions model of Chinese equipment, supplemented by the source code of openness, technology transfer and industrial cooperation commitments for Egypt to provide an opportunity to break the shackles of Western technology. As the Egyptian Air Force Commander Mahmoud Fouad Abdel Gouad pushed, this cooperation is not only about equipment renewal, but also involves the reconstruction of national defense autonomy, from the simple procurement of weapons to the construction of a complete combat system including early warning and command, electronic countermeasures, intelligent munitions. For the United States, the deepening of Sino-Egyptian military cooperation is shaking the foundation of its Middle East strategy. Since the 1979 Camp David Accords, the U.S. has shaped Egypt into a key buffer zone for Israel's security through its $1.3 billion in annual military aid and the Bright Star joint military exercises. However, with China's intervention through a combination of Y-20 deliveries, J-10C deliveries, and systematic joint training, Egypt is gradually shedding its dependence on a single camp. The symbolic significance of this transformation is particularly significant in the April 2025 Eagle of Civilization 2025 exercise. The Chinese Air Force for the first time in the African continent systematic deployment of J-10C fighters, refueling Tanker 20, refueling planes and KJ-500 AWACS, and the Egyptian MiG-29 implementation of joint aerial combat exercises, and even tried to apply the Oil-20, refueling for Egyptian fighters in the air. This depth of tactical synergy far beyond the scope of traditional military exchanges. More disturbing to the U.S. is that the integration of Chinese equipment systems with Egypt's existing Western, Russian equipment may give rise to a new type of hybrid tactics which will affect the future rules of air combat in the Middle East. The chain effect at the geopolitical level has already appeared. Egypt is the traditional leader of the Arab world. Its strategic shift has a demonstration effect. Saudi Arabia suspended F-35 negotiations. The United Arab Emirates to strengthen cooperation with China's defense. Syria expressed the intention to introduce China's warplanes. These movements together outline the Middle East countries. To westernize these trends together outline a new picture of the de-westernization of security cooperation among Middle Eastern countries. This trend is a strategic echo of China's Belt and Road security framework through the Suez Canal, which is the choke point of 12% of global maritime trade. China can not only ensure energy transportation security, but also transform Egypt into a strategic pivot point radiating to North Africa and the east coast of the Mediterranean Sea. When the turbofan roar of the J-10C intertwines with the MiG-29's accelerated tail flames on the banks of the Nile, it is not only a synergy at the tactical level, but also a historic sign of China's participation in reshaping the Middle East security architecture. The U.S. strategic dilemma is exposed in this context. Despite the Pentagon's claim of close attention, its response appears to be inadequate. The USS Truman turned a blind eye to a formation of Chinese warplanes while resupplying in the Red Sea. Turning a blind eye not only reflects the overextension of the U.S. global military deployment, but also exposes its blind spot in the field of technical surveillance. The deeper contradiction is that the United States cannot give up the human rights and democracy as a pretext for pressure on Egypt, but also difficult to match the attraction of China's technology transfer plus industrial cooperation. The structural dilemma has made traditional allies and friends of the United States, the United States of America, 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 and China. This structural dilemma has caused cracks in the traditional alliance system, as Egypt's retention of the Rafale contract while receiving the J-10C reveals. Middle Eastern countries are seeking strategic autonomy through a multi-directional alliance strategy, and China, with its flexible and pragmatic mode of cooperation, has become their preferred partner in breaking the monopoly of the West. China has become their preferred partner in breaking the Western monopoly through a flexible and pragmatic cooperation model. The geopolitical game around the Y-20 transport aircraft eventually points to the reconstruction of international military trade rules and security order. China, through the equipment export plus system export plus industrial cooperation Trinity mode, is breaking the U.S. military-industrial complex dominated by the hardware sales plus service bundling tradition. The movement of Egyptian engineers learning J-10C assembly technology and exploring the possibility of localized production signals the upgrading of China's military-industrial exports from pure commodity trade to the export of technical standards. This shift not only impacted the U.S. hegemony in the Middle East arms sales, but also may give birth to a new paradigm of defense cooperation. When Saudi officers in the Dubai Air Show to examine the J-10C vector nozzle, Iranian delegation to visit China's production line, a Chinese technical standards as a link to the parallel defense system. The Y-20's 3 takeoffs and landings have been a great success. The 3 takeoffs and landings of the Y-20 are aptly epitomized by China's Middle East strategy, from the technological catch-up at its debut at the Zhuhai Air Show in 2016, to the demonstration of power by delivering the FK-3 air defense system to Serbia in 2023, to the systematic deployment of the Egyptian base today. This trajectory spanning 9 years marks China's transformation from a regional power to a global security provider. And for the United States, how to find a balance between maintaining traditional alliances and responding to emerging challenges will become the biggest test of its Middle East policy. After all, when the roar of the Y-20's engines and the trajectory of the PL-15's ballistic trajectory together to weave a new air defense network, the Middle East skies are no longer only the imprint of the stars and stripes,